welcome to Most Haunted. This week we brought you to Streatham High Street, which is home to one of the largest nightclubs in London, Caesars. Caesars Club was the first purpose-built ballroom in Britain. It was constructed in 1928 and was known then as the Locarno. It became famous for its American big band acts and later infamous in the 60s as a favoured haunt of the London underworld. A woman's scream has been heard on numerous occasions and an oppressive atmosphere is felt in the dressing rooms. People who work at Caesars claim to have seen the ghost of a young woman with blonde hair wearing 1950s style clothes. Could the spirit of Ruth Ellis, the last woman to be hanged in Britain who used to work at the club, be haunting Caesars? And if so, why?
Of course, the site where Caesars now stands, obviously there's always been something here. There was originally farms on this site, then from the 1840s, Victorian housing. Then in 1929, the whole area was redeveloped, and this became the Locarno, a very famous dance hall, opened by no less than Billy Cotton. And then, of course, in about 1994, Fred Batt took this on and has turned it into what it is now, the very famous Caesars nightclub.
For the first time, Derek Okora, our medium, knew of our location. In fact, it is because of Derek that we are investigating Caesars. During the last Most Haunted at a location called the Clock House, Derek picked up on a link with the owner of the property, Fred Batt, who also owns Caesars nightclub.
Ruth.
My club, Ruth Ellis, the last woman that was hung, used to work.
She's not grounded in the club. She's constantly in visitation. This woman travelled with you. Interest? Oh, wonder where he's going. Let's have a look. Let's go in the big posh car.
This is the main reason why we're here. Many times people have seen a woman standing in this very spot. She then turns round and walks through these locked doors. When described, the apparition is said to look exactly the same as Ruth Ellis. So is it Ruth that haunts this nightclub, and what other entities refuse to leave? We have 24 hours to find the truth.
Apparently, Ruth Ellis worked here in 1948 as a photographer's assistant. It was in her biography, which was written by her daughter, when the place was called the Locarno. And there has been a sighting of a woman, a blonde woman, that walked straight through a pair of closed fire exit doors. I didn't think much of it at the time, but then thinking about it, the guy that told me about it is he's the type of person that wouldn't really make something like that up, and it frightened him to death.
There's rather a lot of coincidence, or possibly more than that, involved with this. The man she murdered, David Blakely, was a racing driver. His car broke down and he accused her of being a jinx. And strangely enough, she was hanged on July the 13th, 1955. It took the jury 13 minutes to find her guilty, and she was the 13th person hanged in 1955 by Albert Pierpoint.
These dressing rooms were shut down many years ago and have recently been reopened. Since then, staff members have felt cold spots, the feeling also of being watched, and these doors will open and close on their own. Also, the shape of a lady has been seen wandering up and down this corridor.
The dressing rooms, which when I came here in '94 hadn't been used since about 1948, or the 1940s anyway, and they were bricked up, and we unbricked them all and refurbished them. And every time I go in there, I feel this absolute sort of coldness, and my hair stands on end all over my body, and I won't go in there on my own. It's quite spooky in there.
This corridor hasn't changed since the 1940s, and the door behind me opens and closes on its own.
I mean, the house I live in is haunted, but a different type of haunting. With this place, it's a sort of frightening haunting, and I don't like the feel of it at all. So there's no way I'd stay in this place on my own.
Simon, our paranormal investigator, had spent a great deal of time getting to know the club. By noting where and when specific noises are made, Phil can then evaluate any strange phenomena, and then he may be able to give a rational explanation to any member of the crew during our 24-hour stay.
Now this is a nightclub with a difference because we've got a famous ghost.
That's right, the ghost of Ruth Ellis, who was the last woman hanged in Britain, supposedly haunts the upper levels of the nightclub, so it is quite a high-profile ghost.
So what other paranormal activity occurs here?
Well, we've got regular occurrences of cold spots, we've got the sound of a screaming woman on a dance floor, also sounds of noises and footsteps coming from backstage where the corridors and dressing rooms are found. Now this has only started happening since they were opened by the present owner in 1994, and that was the first time they've been open since the 1940s.
What about when we have our night vision cameras on and everybody goes off into different areas? Is there any particular area that you'd like to investigate?
I'd like to investigate the dressing room and corridors. I went down there earlier in the daytime and the atmosphere seemed very ominous compared to the rest of the club. So at night time, in night vision, it's going to be very spooky.
Yeah, I think it will be. When the music has died down and the crowds have left, there's an eerie atmosphere at the dance floor. A woman's scream has been heard, and so terrifying is this noise that staff members have left absolutely petrified.
When the club is full and filled with energy, it's hard to believe that it could possibly be haunted. When empty, an eerie silence fills the air, and staff members return to their homes as quickly as possible. Derek Okora, our medium, wanted to walk around the club to get a feel for the place and try to make contact with any supposed ghosts. He felt drawn to a particular spot, and unbeknownst to him, it was the place where the ghost of Ruth Ellis has been seen on numerous occasions.
Now we're in the atmosphere in which I was drawn, wanted to come up here first, because I've got three mixed energies here at the moment, and I don't know whether they're connected or whether they're separate, but I've got this like psychic yearning, if you like, to separate two from one. And I am aware of a man's spirit. He seems to be laughing because he knows he shouldn't be here. So if I can just see if I can make that mental link with him, because he's not actually... Richardson would go ballistic if he knew I was here. If he knew I was here, he'd go ballistic. It's Richardson. It's Reg. Right, that's him. I recognised him. Very close and trying to converse with me is Reginald Cray. Reginald Cray. And he's talking about Richardson. He'd go crazy if he knew he was here.
Does that make any sense at all? Does it?
Charlie Richardson's actually been in here. He's still alive now.
In the 1950s and 60s, the Crays, though ruthless and brutal, became Cockney legends, 20th century Robin Hoods. Rumour has it the Crays may have visited the club once or twice, though it was considered to be within a rival gang's territory, who were known as the Richardsons.
This lady's energy, she's moving up and down here. Okay. Now, her energy seems to be now developing in this area, up and down, up and down. And this lady, I'll describe, like virtually white hair, very pretty person, very attractive, a beautiful, very petite lady. And I feel something here in this area. She's drawn to this area. This is where she would absolutely be active at times. And the fascination to be drawn to this area. Ruth. It's Ruth. Ruth. It's Ruth. Thank you. This is Ruth Ellis.
Right.
This is Ruth Ellis. She keeps on saying, they haven't got it right. They haven't got it right. I can hear her now. She's calling me Derry. Derek, they haven't got it right. Tell them. I'll tell them. What do I need to say, please? She's, oh, you know what the woman's just said? I like your suit sharp. God, thank you. 13. She showed me a gun. Pulling the trigger in memory. 1, 2, 3. And it's like she puts the symbol of the gun down. It was not 4. It was not 4, she's saying. It was not 4. I don't know what that means. It was not 4. It was 3. 3 bullets. 3 bullets. Mm-hmm. It was not 4, whatever that means. Mm-hmm. I know, she said, because I did it.
Does that make sense to anybody? It does.
Yeah, well, apparently, when she shot the person who she shot, they said that she shot 4 times into him.
She said 3.
3 times.
I know, she said. I did it. And David knows. And David's here with me. We've made it up. We're both together. We found our love again. He's changed. He's changed. David. He now knows I love him. He knows I always loved him. He does know. He's sorry. He's not blaming her.
Who was David, Fred?
David Blakely. David Blakely. There's a young girl in the property. A spirit girl.
Oh.
A spirit girl. Oh, gosh. She lost her life. I don't know how at this moment, because we're not in that area. Mm-hmm. But when we go to the area, mm-hmm. they're telling me that they'll, you know, give me relevant IDs and facts. Ruth has just said, oh, bless her, Ruth Ellis has just said that after this now, she will come in visitation, but she is happy and she will go to her rightful place with David and only come back periodically.
Can she stay tonight, though?
She's not going to budge. She's going to... She's not going to budge.
Bruce,
She's
don't go
here.
tonight, please.
She's,
Every time I come in to spit, my hair stands on end.
Yeah.
It's just this area.
Yeah. Look, can I just say, the way I feel about her at this moment in time, it appears she's, you know, she took what she had to take. She realises, and it doesn't anymore really bother her because she's, so to speak, linked back with David. And I feel this way, that he's forgiven her. And whatever their spiritual relationship is now, it seems to be pleasing her.
That's good.
And that's why she will come back periodically, but will not stay around. She wanted these conditions to be told.
Right. Oh,
it must be important to her.
Oh, yeah.
So according to Derek, Ruth Ellis's soul was happy and at peace, which led us to believe that some other entity was responsible for the ill feeling at Caesar's. Would the dressing rooms hold the answer?
As I come here, I know for a fact there's a young girl comes up and down this passageway, up and down. And I know for a fact that she would have lost her life. And it's close by this area, very close by. I feel she could be anything from 5 up to the age of 8 or 9, you know? But I'll describe her.
I was going to say, yeah.
Mentally. She had very, 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 very short hair. I'm aware of a frock type dress, a frock, and floral. And also with the hair, she had a clip. Something was placed here, on one side of her hair.
And it's just this corridor here, you're
Well,
saying?
it seems she's up and down here. Up and down. I feel that she would have probably been actually spotted in times. Oh, that's better. That's better. As if she's come past people at speed. And maybe they've seen a silhouette, shadow, wherever way she's done it. And because of the speed and the coolness rushing past and maybe through certain people who have actually worked in this lovely club, they would go, oh, you know? You know that saying when people say, like, walked over my grave?
Yeah.
She's most definitely, as she's been running, made very loud noises at times. And not just here, she's moved about. She's definitely moved about.
Is that right, Fred?
Yeah, we've heard girls' screams. This used to be a crash.
This was a crash,
In the
oh.
20s, 30s, 40s,
Yes.
50s.
She lost her life here.
This hasn't been used since the 50s, this part of the club.
I don't feel that the child had her life taken from her, you know, murder. I feel an accident, something where she fell, something, and whatever it was where she fell, here, a damage here.
Right.
And I feel it must have been something that she fell onto.
Would that have happened here, in this area?
Yes, very close here. Absolutely.
It may be that a young girl lost her life in the club when it was once a creche. If so, was it her spirit that was running up and down the corridor, closing and opening the doors? According to Derek, it was. But what of the dressing rooms? Who or what was making noises and terrifying staff?
I must say, I don't normally come in this part
Why?
on my own because I get strange feelings down here
Yes.
Just in this particular room?
in all these dressing rooms along here.
Yes.
It's very strange down here.
Yes. Can I tell you those feelings as I pick up the feelings here? At one point, going back in time, there was two who are spirit people now, that practiced the links with the black arts, the witchcraft, without a doubt. And that residual energy that comes through these corridors, houses itself here, houses itself all the way through, is that living energy of thought from those two. Both were males. Both were males. But one of the males had an accomplice, a female.
Can I just ask, who's above us? Who's making all that noise? Just so I know. I know it's probably just somebody up there,
There's
but...
nothing above this bit. There is on the corridor, but not this bit.
Who's
just
making all that noise
The
then?
roof.
Is it just the roof?
Yeah. Flat roof. But nobody's up there.
Well, what?
There it is.
Well, what is it?
That's like a scraping across a floor. A scraping. Probably the... Oh.
What is...
You're lucky I'm here, really, because I don't normally come down.
But is that... Do you hear this?
Yes,
do you
it's
hear
good
this
doing it again.
I
noise?
haven't heard it before, no, but I've felt the energy.
Should just
down
be
there.
quiet.
Listen again.
Shh.
Yeah.
Can you hear that? The hell is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing above.
It's them two beggars.
It can't be natural.
What's through there? The only thing here below there's a stage door, and then the dressing rooms, there's a block of dressing rooms.
Can you think of anything that would be causing those noises?
No, there's nothing above here, just a flat roof.
Should we go in the next room?
Okay. Now, just as we were coming up the passageway, I was made aware of, if I was standing outside here, it's like, it's all in one. Can you hear that?
The noise is freaking me out, isn't it?
Sounds like thunder.
Once it was opened up, then it activated the residual energy in these rooms. They were housed, that's the only way I can put it, blocked and housed in. Opening up, that's what I want to say, opening up has allowed the energy then to surge from these rooms, up the corridors, and it is still present today. Can I ask a question, Fred? Were these blocked?
They were bricked up, yeah.
When did they get removed?
9 years ago.
You know, shortly after then, was all these feelings
As soon as I
happening?
walked in, as soon as I unbricked them,
That's it.
it was like going back in time. It was
Yes.
like the 1940s in here.
Yes. And it was round those times, okay, that these two characters, these two males, okay, were practicing these arts. You know what I get? I get as if they were leading figures.
So
This
you're
pre-
saying that these people, these two men and a woman, were well known,
Yes.
but behind closed doors, as it were, they
Yes.
were into black magic.
Yes. And I feel at this moment in time, if I got the names, I don't think it would be correct or right
Right.
to name them.
Okay.
I won't do that as a spiritual
Okay.
medium.
Right.
Many famous people shared these dressing rooms from 1928 up to, I would say, about the late 1950s, early 1960s. It's crazy.
Listen.
It's a flat roof and four walls. There's nothing that could make that sort of noise.
Mm-hmm.
This is a separate building to the rest of the club. This is separate on its own, over a fire exit that comes from the other club next door.
So,
Probably pipes. Any pipes?
No. There's nothing being used. Haven't got any aircon.
We had to find out what was making the noise. We were all just as mystified as Fred. So Phil suggested that we venture outside and see if anything was on top of the roof that could be causing all the commotion.
So this is the outside of the dressing rooms we were in. As you can see, it's a separate building that
Yeah.
joins onto the main building
Yeah.
with a flat roof. There's just nothing there at all that can make any noise. It's just
It's
a
not
separate
even windy
piece.
though, is it?
No, no.
there's not a breeze, is there?
If we go to the other end, you'll see exactly the same there. So it's just one
have a look.
small building.
There's nothing to suggest in any way, in that flat roof, that any of those noises, it's calm, there's no winds. And it was like, it sounded like a gale, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, there's no wind. I mean, everybody can tell we're outside. Nothing's blowing my hair or anything like that.
Yeah, it's calm.
When we climbed up to take a closer look, we found the doors leading onto the roof were locked and nothing was moving about that would have caused the unexplainable bangs. So we went back to the dressing rooms with the night vision cameras to see if the noises were still there.
Nothing.
No, I can virtually say that those individuals, okay, not just the residual energy, but the activity of those two individuals were definitely at play around that time when we were in this room, because every single member of the team here could hear exactly the same things. And that, to me, most definitely is spiritual paranormal activity. This energy's listening in.
Is it?
Evie, yeah.
My hair's literally standing up
Is
on my
it?
arms and
Is
legs.
it, Fred? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just ask mentally, just for them to make a notice. Just because it'd be interesting if it started again.
What was happening, that was the build-up of the two combined energies, making that manifestation through our hearing. But what was most interesting to me, to my ears, I don't know if it appeared to everyone else's, but it was this, like, it wasn't repetitive knockings. The knockings were not the same all the time. However, when it first started, would you agree, what my ears were listening to was like a dragging sound.
Yeah.
And then it went individually to knocks.
Yes.
And then a collective dum, dum, dum.
Yeah.
So that to me was telling me as a medium that they were really, really putting their energies in for us to, all of us, to hear those particular things.
No, it's not there now.
Yeah, because they'd have to build up the energy again, Ivy. I can tell from my experience of linking with these type of conditions that they are very, very craftily listening to everything we're saying right now. We've been here quite a while and there's not one sound, is there?
Yeah.
Now, the nature of things, them drawing from the energy, will start, or should start, that manifestation off again. I feel certain that during the course of the night, we'll probably get some form of activity, because the energy will build up again. And we may get what we had earlier, but something else inside.
Can I just ask you guys on night vision cameras, have you had any light anomalies fly through Nothing?
No, not mine.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, no more noises for now. Before we split into groups, Derek wanted to return to the 1940s corridor.
Around this area, I feel staff would have experienced a number of things because of this young child here.
There's evidence of these doors opening on their own.
Thank you, it's the girl.
One of these,
It's
and
here.
also a girl screaming.
Well, that is separate to the little girl.
Right.
I feel that older female lost her life in an unnatural way.
An older female, this is something completely different you're picking up now.
Yeah. This one's, I would say, 18. I get strangulation from this energy. A dark scarf. And something with dragging her legs, dragging her along. And she's been pulled along. Kate McIntyre. McIntyre? It sounds like McIntyre, Katie McIntyre. Okay. She got caught. Wrong place, wrong time. And it was from the man's advances. So I feel she was, she must have been a prostitute.
The area is a well-known red light district.
Is it? I wasn't picking up anything sexual earlier on, but now, as he gave that to me, I understand she didn't expect him to do what he did. I don't know if his intent at that moment in time was to take her life. But as she went unconscious, and he was pulling her along by the legs, the ankles, I'm hearing this like scraping noise. That was him pulling her along. Now, this could be a reenactment in the rooms that we were when we heard the noises at first. For a few times we heard this, like, not scratching, but like something being dragged. And I bet that was the reenactment of him pulling her along on this passageway.
So is he in spirit here, dragging, as you're saying, reenacting?
It's reenactment. Now, when I say reenactment, that's not him actually here in the energy. That is the residual energy of his crime, of what he did. I feel he wanted to render her unconscious and drag her to a place. And she came round as he was dragging her. She's screaming. And then, just to shut her up, to quieten her, he got down on his knees with his hands, I felt the hands, round the neck, and strangled her and took her life from her.
So was a young prostitute called Katie McIntyre strangled to death in the upper part of the building? We will never know for sure. Could it be her screams that have been heard many times? It was at this point during the investigation that we split into groups, where hopefully we would film and catch on camera something paranormal. Myself and Suzanne, our PA, had been granted the pleasure of going it alone in dressing room number 2.
It's got a horrible feeling to it, hasn't it? Should we shut the door?
Yeah.
Well, we'll leave it ajar.
No, leave it open because you might see something go past or something like that.
Can we shut the door?
Do you want to shut the door?
Wait, we see something go past.
No, we need to keep it open.
Right.
Where do you want to sit?
Downstairs with the crew.
But we're on our own.
Oh my God, what's the matter? It's a hanger. What the hell is that?
Sit down.
I'm going to turn this torch off because I'm shining quite a light. Oh. I tell you what I want to hear is I want to hear those noises that I heard before, which was above me.
Yeah.
And you know those bangs, those very faint bangs?
Yeah.
Well, they were really loud before.
Oh my God.
Really bloody loud.
If we hear anything in here, everybody, it's just you and I, isn't it?
Mhm.
And everybody's downstairs, and I think that's what is worrying me as well, because the building is so secure, there's no drafts, and there's nobody around, and I'm just thinking, if we hear anything, I'll be out the door.
Worst thing is that it says, you know, whenever you're in this room or the other two rooms which we'll go into, it says you said they're listening.
What, did he explain what kind of strange things they were into?
No, he just said the devil.
We were starting to understand why so many people refused to stay here on their own. Would we see, hear or feel any kind of paranormal activity? And would Ruth make herself known?
What's it good?
I'm not going to do all that, are you here, are you here? Just for now, I just think it's just nice to sit quietly, because you can hear more stuff then.
Mm.
Did you hear that? That's behind us, isn't it?
That sounded like it was coming. Did you do it?
Hear it? No. Banging. Did you hear that banging? Boom, 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 boom.
Fuck, what? You're joking. What was that?
Well, do you reckon we should move to another room?
Shall I take you up to walk?
Oh, I can't see a damn thing.
Let's go upstairs.
Yeah. Oh, this is. What's the matter?
This is that door, isn't it? That it opens and shuts on its own, doesn't it, this one? Whatever's walking through that might be there right now, and we can walk through it.
I keep hearing banging, you know. Like above us. What if those doors closed on us now?
Do you know?
Just shit
Exactly
yourself.
the same thing.
Will you just
I had visions of it going.
Whilst we continued to search the club, Carl the producer had gone to dressing room number 3 in the basement with 2 night vision cameras.
I sit here. I'm so far away from everybody else. We're in where we are now is a dressing room which is at the end of all the other dressing rooms, and you go down those stairs that are in front of me to get to it. It's getting cold in here very quickly.
Just keep your voice up. Who she appeared to?
lots of people.
Has she?
Yeah, staff members and people like that.
It's not like just like, you know, sometimes it can just be the female genre if she's female.
I don't know.
Just anybody.
Something really creepy about this place.
Fuck. Jesus Christ, what?
Fucking hell.
Oh my God.
Oh, my heart.
This just...
God, my heart. What?
I'm getting spooked. I keep seeing reflections of my lights now.
Jesus. Right, come on. All right.
Where are we going? What's above us? Who's above us? Nobody's above us. No. What was that?
Ruth. Ruthie. Please try to show yourself to me at the top of the stairs. Just by a mist or an orb. Oh, something just went in that screen. Looked like it was on the stairs. Is anyone here? Is anybody here? What am I to make a living? Ruth Ellis. Are you here? Ruth. Ruth Ellis. Are you here?
My lips are throbbing. Like I've been hit. Well, maybe I have. Remember when you were screaming?
Or maybe you slapped me around the face. Did you? Did we
No,
connect?
no. I grabbed hold of you because you shit me up.
Should we go to see Ruth? Let's get brave.
I'm not enjoying this one bit.
Are you scared? It's not just me.
No,
is it?
no, I am. There's just so many different shadows and things.
Yeah. Yeah, but the noises as well.
There's motion detectors on the floor, look.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. Should we sit here on the side?
Shall I sit here?
Yeah. Come on, Ruth. Come on. I so desperately want to see something, you know. I just...
Yeah, but would you not just completely panic if you did?
Yeah, I think so. But it's like those noises. I can't get over those noises that we heard earlier on. And then when I think back to those noises, I think, jeez, I mean, that was right. I mean, you think back, there's no logical explanation. And at first I was thinking, oh, there's a logical explanation, but there isn't.
Suzanne and I definitely heard similar noises that were experienced in dressing room number 2. Other than that, the fear of the dark was the only thing we had experienced. Carl, on the other hand, had caught 2 light anomalies on camera when calling for Ruth. Could it have been a coincidence, or was the spirit of Ruth Ellis in the same room as Carl?
It's getting cold in here very quickly.
As usual, other crew members investigated various parts of the building, and unfortunately, nothing happened.
Well, when I first came into Caesars, I didn't really know what to expect. With the reputation of hauntings and occurrences in this place, I thought we were going to be in for an interesting evening. Unfortunately, from my point of view, I was a bit disappointed with what actually happened.
Obviously, Derek had already picked things up at the last venue when he said that Ruth was following Fred around in his car and back to his house. And that's the reason that we came here.
Ruth Ellis. Ruth, on 2 communications now, I've been very fortunate to listen intently to what the good lady had to say. What was said really pleased me for her. David had come to terms with the idea of what actually happened. He forgave her, and they were now getting on with things in the world of spirit as she wished.
I was apprehensive after I was taken down into the changing rooms that had been opened up in 1994. It was the place that Fred said he was actually frightened to go into. Staff had heard things, and the doors used to open on their own.
Every one of us heard this rushing sound, and then a feeling of dragging along metal plate. That's what it sounds to the ears. Then, as if there was a gale of some kind outside. Spiritual, paranormal activity has taken place. I think they asserted a great deal of their energy in actually trying to do this and maintain it for such a long time.
The noises that are being heard are very, very strange. My instant reaction would be that some sort of animal has landed on the roof, say an owl or something like that, with its prey, and that's causing the scratching and the banging. The interesting thing is that when the team went up to the roof, and all credit to them for doing that immediately to find any sort of natural explanation, they didn't find anything that would have caused those noises. And in addition to that, my explanations might not be sufficient enough because the noises were incredibly loud.
There's a block of dressing room.
Can you think of anything that would be causing those noises?
No, there's nothing above here, just a flat roof.
In the dressing room, Fred and certainly the other members of staff have reported sense of presence, that sort of quite a negative feeling. And generally with haunted locations, there are a lot of different explanations that skeptics would put forward as natural causes. One cause of this negative feeling might be a proposed theory to do with infrasound. That is, sound that occurs below 20 hertz. And this is sound that we don't necessarily hear, it's on the cusp of our perception, so we feel it. And you often feel it in the pit of your stomach. People report getting a tingling sensation on their neck, and certainly other sort of reports like a sense of presence, that sort of thing. And so maybe what's happening here is that there's some sort of natural resonant frequency in this location, and that's causing this negative feeling. But it's just one explanation.
Ruth Ellis, are you here?
I've seen a lot of light anomalies in The Most Haunted Show, and there's no one explanation for what all of them could be. So some people say it's dust, some people say it's reflection off insects, other people say, well, it's something to do with reflection into the camera lens, but certainly there's no one explanation that explains all of them, because they are very different forms, and here we've got 2 very, very different forms. The intriguing thing is that there were no other dust particles or insects or any other light anomalies of this nature during the whole investigation, but at this particular point, when contact is trying to be made with Ruth Ellis, we see the 2 anomalies occur at precisely that moment. Now, is that coincidence, or is there some significance there? Well, I think it's for you to decide, really.
Our investigation at Caesars had not been as eventful as we had hoped. Nothing had been caught on camera by Ruth Ellis's door, and none of our motion detectors had been set off. However, we did catch these 2 light anomalies, and all of us witnessed the noises from dressing room number 2. We can all understand why no one would want to be here on their own. So if you ever come here for a night out, make sure you leave with everyone else. Sleep tight.
What the fuck's going on?
doing?